Hi, Miss American Dream, Orinthia Blue on Twitter. P.S. If you have a problem with how I look or where I'm sitting or the quality of my video, then we don't need to be talking. Just listen to what I have to say. Because I'm taking time out of my life to talk to you, and I think your question's important, and I'd like my response to be heard. So I would appreciate at least you hearing me. I'll try to be quick. So you asked me what kind of mental what kind of mental gymnastics, and it makes you laugh because I get it. I've had to do so many mental gymnastics in my life, so many. You said, how can you blame the left for that? Okay. So for me, it's like I said in my tweet. I started off growing up with blinders on. Okay, I was in a very Christian home, and I thought I knew right and wrong, black and white, all this stuff. And I would be able to tell somebody what was right and wrong, and all that sort of stuff. And I think we all know kind of that sort of idea, how we were raised in our families and whatever. And if you don't, then I'm telling you that's how it is. If you have blinders on, you don't really think outside of a box. So I was raised very conservatively. Or I guess on this, it should be this side. Very conservatively, on the right. Republican. And I thought that way for a long time. Slowly over time, I became more liberal and much, much more liberal. And that too, like backfired on me, and I had to do more mental gymnastics to kind of like understand how my thinking was being molded in the left. So my thinking was being molded in the right when I was young, and then I pulled back and rebelled and went to the left pretty far, and to be honest, I feel like I'm still liberal, but I'm absolutely not polarizing to any side, and I'm not even independent. Okay, like the sides are for WWE, for wrestling. Okay, if you watch the Tim Russert video where he interviews John Kerry, who's in Skull and Bones, and who's a blue tie, and then he interviews George Bush, who's a red tie. I believe I have these right, and they're both in Skull and Bones. And he's like, isn't that a little weird that you're on kind of like on the same team? What's that about? And they neither of them answered. Okay, that sort of stuff, along with so many things, have made me understand. I'm not saying you're not, but it made me understand to use my brain a little bit more, to think a little deeper about who's speaking to me and what are they telling me. And I know it's a fact that 9/11 was an inside job. It's a fact that Epstein didn't kill himself, okay? And that's just two lies, okay? That's just big lies, big lies, okay? And my question to you is how many lies does it take for you to cut off a friendship? You have a friend. How many betrayals would it take you before you cut them off? And or at least you start saying, like, just thinking all the time, they're probably lying to me, okay? For me, I've seen more than a few, and they're all huge, but I've seen more than a few. So at this point in my life, everything I'm looking at with like a different framing. Whether it's right, whether it's left, it doesn't matter to me. If something is right, if something is right on the left, if something is good on the left, then I will praise it. If something's good on the right, I will praise it. But mainstream media has totally polarized us, and it's like wrestling, okay? It's like wrestling. The writers of wrestling stories, they make a villain and they make a hero. You got The Rock, and I don't know who else, like The Undertaker. Everybody likes The Undertaker. But regardless, you pick a wrestler, but everybody kind of knows it's written. Well, that's where I'm at. There's so much that we're lied to about that I can't even possibly believe a freaking word that comes out of these people's mouths. They get paid so much, and it's just an act to me. it's like, hey, let's play fight for a second, get everybody polarized, and yeah, we have our own actual like agendas and wins and losses and whatnot, but in the end, it's all the writers, okay, and all the rich people are going to be in their bunkers when shit goes down. So for me, it's like, Tim Russert asked about Skull and Bones, and I have this sort of thing in my mind where it's like, it doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter if it's red or blue. In the end, it's all 3-2-2. Like, and it takes you down a huge rabbit hole, and that takes time to digest, and that is what I would call mental gymnastics. I've had to do a lot to come to grips with like some of like if you were just to write some things into one sentence, it just, nobody is going to compute it because it all sounds so ludicrous. It all sounds so crazy. But if you do your own research and you look at the lies that you're being told, you have to take a step back. So that's the context for when I'm looking at the riot or the insurrection, because there's a big difference between insurrection and riot. When I look at the insurrection at the Capitol, okay, for one, the people who were violent against that, like the security and all that stuff, like they do need to be tried. They do, or at least charged or whatever. And there's definitely some of them that need jail time and severe sentences. I'm not arguing with that. That's a fact. Whoever built the fucking guillotine, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I don't think... Hold on to your butts, okay? Just hang on for a second. Hear me out. I just gave you a lot, so just listen, please. I don't think Trump should be charged for inciting the insurrection. I think Giuliani should be charged for inciting the insurrection. The trial by combat? Are you freaking kidding me? Again, I'm not on a side. There's plenty of other shit for Trump to be legally dealt with, okay? But okay. So I'm just trying to say, like, I'm not on a side, all right? So you look at all the troops that were coming into DC. Man, I saw up until the point of the actual election and like in the insurrection and all that stuff. And I'm kind of giving it to you on the insurrection. I don't even want to call it that because there's so many videos where it's just like cops were like, here you go, just like the one we're commenting on. And that's why I have to come to this statement of where what you're asking. You're saying, what kind of mental gymnastics are you, like, what kind of crack are you on? I can hear you saying it. Like, I get it. I do. But you think about, I'm a programmer. I used to play video games, and I kind of think about like those top-down video games where you can control crowds and stuff. And how would you control a crowd? Well, for me, it's pretty easy in this case. Like, and you got to think about the motives behind it all, right? You got to think about the motives behind it all. The left does want more gun control. Okay. I don't own a gun. Okay. But I'm looking at the biases on either side, okay? The left does want gun control. And how do you get people more behind it? Well, you let some shit happen. They knew that tensions were building, okay? I literally was worried about Trump actually going to start like not a civil war, but something crazy, okay? I was thinking he had the ability to do so. I even talked to my friends about it. I was like, if this guy wanted to, he's got people at the ready, but he didn't. You look at his tweets that they talk about in the impeachment thing, and like they say like he's calling for arms and stuff, and all the ones that they used were like they didn't call for arms, okay? And then please, I understand that I'm saying a lot, and there's a lot of things you want to argue with, and we can discuss. That's how we work together. That's how we don't polarize, okay? So just I'm giving you my time. Please hear me out, and I will hear you out. You look at those tweets. They didn't call for arms. Okay, then the left brought up some stuff about. They actually added, which I think this is a fuck up with them. They actually added the check mark and they changed the date on some tweets. Why even risk messing with the evidence? In any other court case in our system, you mess with evidence, the whole case gets thrown out. Why would you even risk that? That was stupid. That was so stupid to do. Besides that, you have to look at the media biases. A lot of them, and I have proof of this. A lot of them cut out that first part, his like opening part, where he said peacefully and patriotically. And I know that we have the fight and this whatever, but he still said it, and it still got taken out. And that totally changes your my perspective too. It changes everyone's perspective by little manipulations. And this platform is guilty of it too. I have proof of that too, and I'm just sitting on it. So for me, it's like you look at how many there, especially in comparison to the riots we've had in the past year. You look at how many officers and whatnot were actually like motioning people in, how chill it was once they actually got in. And yes, people were hurt. People did die, okay? I'm not detracting from that. I mourn those people, the people who were defending, okay? But I still see liberals talking about like, oh, you gotta fight, you gotta like, if you gotta make your voice heard. You know, I have so much data sitting on, so I'm backed up here in this sense. And I'm just trying to say, like, it wasn't hard to allow the insurrection to happen. Obviously, a lot of these officers and I don't know what else they were, soldiers maybe, I don't know. I didn't see any soldiers there. And that, regardless, a lot of the people, the security there, let people in, and they just stood on the sidelines, like this video that we're talking about. And that guy in the MAGA hat called them out. He's like, "What are you doing? This is our capital. Like, and you're allowing it to happen? Call for somebody." The camera pans back, and the dudes are like, might as well just have his hands on his dick and his pants. Like, they're just sitting there. And that pisses me off. And it's also a signal. It's a signal. It's a signal of what's actually happening. For me, okay? Again, I asked you about, do you believe Epstein killed himself? Do you believe 9/11 was by terrorists? And if you do, then we're not going to agree on the Capitol thing, okay? We're just not. And that's fine. That's fine. But discussions are good, right? So for me, okay, so all these videos, we had so many military in D.C., a shit ton of camoed up military. Where were they? Where in the world were they? Okay, it doesn't take just Trump, especially during the transition. It doesn't take just Trump or Pence to make the call of getting the military in there, the National Guard or whatever. There were so many of them at the ready, okay? But really, that was just to build up tensions. They were never going to use them in the first place. They were just going to allow it to happen, and that's exactly what happened in my perspective, okay? And again, we're here to talk this out. So we didn't see any military. Pelosi could have called on the military. A gazillion other people, maybe not a gazillion, but a lot of other people on the left could have definitely got the military involved. The FBI is talking about, oh, we have a list, of calls that were made inside and out, and all this stuff. Don't give me that bullshit, dude. We've had the Stingray devices and way more for over 20 years installed all over the places in cities all over America, And these things don't just take, like, number logs. Hello. Like, are we forgetting Prism and Snowden? These people, like, our own alphabet agencies have direct access and recording absolutely everything. All our, like, everything. All the nudes we send, all the text messages, all the, literally the calls in real time are there. It's all being aggregated with many different systems. And that is saying that it was allowed to happen. They knew everything that was going down. You have to understand that. You have to understand that at least it was known. It was so known. It couldn't be more known. Like, we're so wiretapped. It's stupid. It pisses me off. And so it had to have been allowed. It just had to have been. And so that's how I look at it. There weren't any military there. No steps were taken to bring in any sort of extra backup or anything like that. There's a lot of videos of people who are coming, just where the securities are like, yeah, just come in, whatever. It's like, go this way. Like, what? So it's not something I believe. If you haven't seen the movie Wag the Dog, that's a helpful one. It's where the media just makes shit up on a green screen just to drive the masses to think one way. And so I guess all that's to say, those are the mental gymnastics that I did in order to get to this point. And you can call me crazy. That's fine. That's fine. We're here to discuss, and you can say I'm crazy. But I think I at least explained my reasoning. And if you can't understand my reasoning, again, we are going to have to disagree, agree to disagree, and that's fine. There's nothing more than just, I'm offended. There's a joke there that, look up Steve Hughes, I'm offended. It's a really funny comedy bit. And, you can be offended, I can be offended, but nothing has to happen from that, okay? We can just disagree. And we can still be neighbors. We can still care for each other. You get a flat tire, I'm still going to help you out. I'm not going to be like, oh, you're a Democrat or you're a Republican or whatever. And, I mean, I guess that's it. So, I hope you heard me out for the time I took out to respond to you. You don't even have to respond if you don't want. But, obviously. But, peace, love, and discussions are healthy. So, because a lot of them are getting censored and guided in different ways. And I'm sick of it. I just want some truth. That's it. Take care.